Good morning and welcome to today's edition of Daily Current Affairs with Sathya sir. This is me Satyanarayan from IQ Ideas. I bring daily headlines important for current affairs for students who are preparing for various undergraduate entrance examinations. From the news, I also mark important articles or interesting articles that you can read with a view of improving your reading comprehension and English abilities. Also, we will be taking a look at vocabulary words to improve our language. So, without further ado, let's jump into today's newspaper. The front page, the biggest headline is Expect Quad allies to appreciate India's right to fight terror, says the EAM. So, EAM is the External Affairs Minister, it's an abbreviation. And as on date, the External Affairs Minister for India is Dr. S. Jaishankar, who obviously has been in the news a lot and a very learned and erudite person. And if you go and take a look at videos of his on social media responding to various questions, you will be pretty impressed by his knowledge and grasp on subjects as well as his oratory skills. Okay, coming back to the news, it says we expect the Quad allies to appreciate India's right to fight terror. So, what exactly is the Quad? Well, it is a strategic forum between four countries, which include the USA, Japan, Australia, and of course India. So, Quad is four, as in quadrilateral. So, the Quad is a strategic forum between the USA, Japan, Australia, and India. And obviously, our external affairs minister has said that as allies, they should appreciate that we do have the right to fight terror. Also, it says don't equate perpetrators with victims. So, vocabulary wise, the meaning of the word perpetrator is a person who actually does the crime. So, the person who does the atrocity is the perpetrator, and the person on whom the atrocity is done is the victim. So, India will exercise its right to defend its citizens from terrorism, and it expects Quad partners to understand and appreciate that, said the EAM to his Quad counterparts in Washington. Great. So, read this article, but the couple of interesting points is, of course, what is meant by the Quad. Then the next news is something about a blast, an explosion in the Sigachi Industries multi-story pharma plant in Telangana's Pashamalaram, which, okay, not too relevant. Middle of the page, the cabinet approves 1 lakh crore rupees scheme to create 3.4 crore jobs. Okay. It says the cabinet on Tuesday approved the rupees 1 lakh crore employment linked incentive scheme aimed at generating more than 3.4 crore jobs in the organized sector. And this scheme is meant to counter criticism over inadequate jobs being created in the economy when there's a rising number of job seekers in the market. And political importance of this decision is because it comes ahead of the assembly elections in Bihar, West Bengal, Assam, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Pretty interesting. Okay. Uh, the small snippet in middle of that news is that 88% of the workers are in low competency jobs. Okay. A staggering 88% of India's workforce is engaged in low competency occupations, while more than 50% of graduates are employed in roles meant for lower skill levels, said a report by the Institute for Competitiveness, India's affiliate of Institute for Strategic and Competitiveness at Harvard Business School. Okay, that's an alarming bit of news. Okay, moving on to the other headlines. The an update on the Boeing crash of 12th June. Simulation of Air India flight that crashed puts focus on double engine failure. Okay. 20 days after the crash of the AI plane in Ahmedabad that killed all but one of the 242 people on board, the investigators and the airlines are studying possible dual engine failure as a scenario that prevented the Boeing 787 jet from staying airborne. Okay, so we'll have to keep following that news to see what could have actually led to the crash. One other news is in fresh blow to international students, Trump admin plans fixed periods of stay, which means the Department of Homeland Security of US has said international students, exchange visitors, and representatives of foreign information media. This could impact thousands of Indian students. Okay. It currently international students can stay in US as long as they are studying in technical terms, as long as they're engaged in the activity for which the visa was issued under the duration of status policy. So a continuation of this news is on the page next on the other page, and we will definitely go through that. Okay, so those are some of the main headlines in the front page. Let's move on to the next page. The city page is all about a couple of headlines on tragedies. An interesting article on Gujarat sees sharp rise in fat consumption and other things doesn't seem too relevant. The next city page is again a lot of crime related news, so nothing that I'm going to focus on. Maybe there could be some vocabulary words you could pick up by reading, but don't pay too much attention to remembering the details. The next city page says Gujarat tops installations under PM Surya Ghar with 32% share. So Gujarat has retained its leading position in solar rooftop adoption. Okay, I will put that up as an interesting one-liner. So let's see how we could frame this. Okay, so Gujarat leads in solar rooftop adoption under PM Surya Ghar Yojana, and it has 32% of the total rooftop solar installations under the scheme in the entire country. Very interesting. And in Gujarat also, the city of Surat apparently tops the state. Okay. The other interesting thing is India steps up its Olympic bid efforts in Lausanne. Okay, so India, different countries obviously bid to hold the Olympics, which is a 4-yearly event, and a high-level Indian delegation has concluded the visit to Lausanne, the Olympic capital, where we are trying to see the feasibility of India hosting a future edition of the Olympics and the Paralympics. Okay, and this delegation was represented by Gujarat Sports Minister Harsh Sanghvi, Indian Olympic Association President PT Usha. Okay, so from this IOA president is PT Usha, a very famed runner. The Pioli Express is what she was known as, a veteran in athletics. Okay, bottom of the page we have just an interesting article where the consumer panel upholds full refund of fees to dropout, and the headline says not refunding fees to poor student amounts to exploitation. Okay, so I will definitely as students, this is something which you can definitely read, because I believe a lot of students do pay fees and would be seeking refunds. Next, on the state page, if I ignore all the violence and crime related news, there's just one interesting thing. Surat woman puts India on water skiing map. So, having already conquered world's 7 summits, 27-year-old Anuja Vaidya from the Diamond City, that is Surat, has now made waves in the world of water sports and became the first Indian to participate in an international water skiing event. Okay, so the first Indian to participate in an international water skiing event is Anuja Vaidya from Surat. Okay, just one line news, but something which can be kept in mind. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. The next page in the news is the Nation page. Okay, the biggest headline is related to crime and stuff, so I would not pay too much attention to it. Okay, now the special below the centerfold, the special article is unsung divers retrieve forgotten dead, and without safety equipment they have pulled out 102 bodies from water bodies across the national capital this year. Okay, so this is about a brigade of 15 divers who dive into filth-clogged drains and toxic canals of Delhi to pull out the dead and drowned, or those who have dumped and disappeared. Sad piece of news, but something which you can just read I could probably come up with a few statistics from this news, but nothing of long-term importance. The next nation page is one which is a continuation of the Boeing crash news from the front page, and it says investigators' main focus on technical issues. Whether or why both engines would have simultaneously lost power remains unknown, but investigators will seek additional clues from the two flight recorders whose data has been extracted and is undergoing analysis. Okay. Again, and also there's a continuation of the report of Indian workers being stuck in low competency jobs. Okay, that would be an interesting read. The next page is a health related page. Recently, Shefali Jariwala was found dead, heartthrob of youngsters in the 90s. An Ivy League Jariwala case shows risk of chasing anti-aging fad. So this is a pretty disturbing trend where people are resorting to medical or surgical means in the effort to look young. And it says, want to regain youth and drips with drips, shots, and supplements, you could be damaging your organs instead. So that's a pretty concerning piece of news which should be read for the sake of our own health and sanity. There's a survivor story at the bottom, from confusion to confidence, my journey as a dyslexic adult. Okay, so this is by Vaishali, an award-winning author. So what exactly is dyslexia? And it's a learning disability, so that should be an inspiring article to read. Okay, moving ahead, we come to the special page where TOI celebrates youngsters from across India who have made a mark and are hungry for more. So these are, I believe, inspiring stories of 21 youngsters in the fields of sports, performing arts, fine arts and humanities, sciences, social activism, and entrepreneurship. And I would definitely encourage youngsters to go through these interesting stories. Maybe you can be the next one to be featured in such a tale. The next nation page is the top article is the Home Minister says the new criminal laws to be regarded as biggest reforms. So 2023 we had the three new laws, which is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita or the BNS. Then we had the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, which was the BNSS, and we had the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam, which would be the BSA. So those who have been following news, especially those in the those law aspirants, would know that in around 1872 we had the Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Procedures Code, and the Indian Evidences Act, which were replaced in 2023. So this is just an article on that, but these are the three important terms I would pick up from the news. And then there is a full text of PM's LinkedIn post of Digital India, where the headline reads, Digital India using tech to eliminate gap between haves and have-nots. Okay, so an interesting turn of phrase there, the haves and the have-nots. So the haves are basically the privileged people who have things, and have-nots are those who are left behind or those who do not have things, the underprivileged. Okay, moving on from this page, the next nation page doesn't seem to have any much of information for long term. Now we come to my favorite, the middle page, full of articles, important from the viewpoint of English and reading comprehension. The big article, the big news, not news, but the big write-up on the top is The Real Trump Shocker by Ruchir Sharma. It reads, it's incredible that to date he has had so little impact in America. Markets are strong, growth hasn't slowed, and Treasury is recording revenue from tariffs, but tariffs aren't impacting prices. So this is going to be an interesting read and a take of an individual on the perception of, on his perception on what President Donald Trump of the USA's pronouncements and laws have had on economy. Below that, we have an article by Ruhin Bhatt, who is an advocate in the Supreme Court of India. Are women free to make decisions about their body? No. Apparently, Delhi High Court has allowed a minor rape survivor to terminate her pregnancy at 27 weeks. More often, courts deny such appeals. Ending arbitrary policing of the womb needs decriminalization of abortion. So, for law aspirants, I would definitely recommend you read this entire article by Ruhin Bhatt, because it talks about an important issue regarding abortion and decriminalization of the same. The left three columns, the top one is the next Dalai Lama. Who will succeed the current Tibetan spiritual head and how the selection will work are huge geopolitical issues. Okay. Next, exhausting policy. Fixing air quality is not as easy as scrapping old vehicles, but government's gone for the shortcut. So this apparently is from news which has been doing the rounds, that there is a Delhi policy that fuel is not to be sold for vehicles older than 15 years. This is apparently in a bid to reduce the extreme levels of pollution which have been plaguing the city, right? But the point is, will such a measure actually help in any way? So read that. And then we have Jag Suraya's column, Second Opinion, Trump et al. From Sea to Shining Sea, America since the dawn of a new era. So this is going to be a humorous column. Read it for fun. The next Times special page is they fled religious persecution in Pakistan, but India won't recognize their skills. Okay, so persecution is when you are followed and you are harassed. Persecution is harassment, right? So the byline is they were doctors, engineers, skilled professionals in highly specialized and challenging jobs. But the country to which they migrated with hope has no proper system in place to utilize their talents. And the important bold headlines are limited opportunities, stuck in red tape, hurdles for other pros, policy gap, and advocacy for change. So I would definitely recommend that you read this particular article for the content and language. Okay. Moving on to the next global page. The big headline is US Senate approves Trump's big beautiful spending bill. The House of Representatives is the next stop. Great. So United States President Donald Trump called something the big beautiful bill. You can read up on this. Other news don't seem to be too relevant. The business page has things about mergers and news which would interest only people in business, economics, or policies. So let's quickly jump to the next page, which is a techie page. Okay. So one, cricket goes AAA as AI slashes game production time. Interesting. Then there's an article, what if Ramayana had a budget like God of War? Okay. And next, he's built a restaurant tech business worth $25 billion. Okay, so that's a startup story. And all the three articles seem to be very interesting about technology. So people interested in business and technology in particular can definitely read all three articles with great interest. Next is the sports page, where India-England test match, the second test is to begin, and there are just some interesting articles on that for sports fans. At the bottom, there is the new sports policy 2025 aims to make India a global contender. Okay, so NSP. That seems to be interesting. We had the NEP, which is the new education policy. We also have something called the NSP, which is the apparently the new sports policy, and it gives 5 pillars of this policy. So let's read that. 1, it focuses on achieving the nation's excellence on the global stage by enhancing infrastructure, talent identification, and international competitiveness. Okay, so work from the basics. Second, Sports for Economic Development emphasizes leveraging sports to boost industries such as tourism, manufacturing, and sports technology. Obviously, sports is important on its own, but when you link anything with money, when you link anything with creation of jobs, when you link anything with improvement of the economy, then definitely it is going to get much more importance. So the second pillar, very relevant. Third, sports for social development promotes inclusivity, health, and education through sports, fostering societal cohesion. Okay, so in this new woke era, it's not just money, but even other things which matter for good quality of life. The third pillar takes care of that. Fourth, sports as people's movement seeks to engage communities in physical activities, making sports a cultural cornerstone. Good. And finally, it aligns with the National Education Policy 2020, integrating sports with education to nurture holistic development and life skills in students, youths, promoting academic and athletic excellence. Brilliant. So, this definitely is worth reading. Great. And then moving on, we come to the last page where just basic information on stuff. But my favorite Amul ad, the maske ke mastane hazaron hai, bread ki jaan. Okay, that seems to be a reference to, I think, is it Umarao Jaan? Not too sure. But bread ki jaan, yeah, must be a reference to Umarao Jaan, that classical movie starring Rekha. And I think the song was In Aankhon Ki Masti Ke Mastane Hazaron Hain. So Sylvester Dakuna, I believe, was the one who came up with the moped and the things. You can read up on Amul's history in advertising. And Amul is famous for coming up with these one-line zingers along with the iconic Amul moped. And it always focuses on latest news and current affairs. So an interesting source of coming up with current affairs. So that brings us to the end of today's session. A lot of interesting articles to read, a lot of acronyms that we can learn from this, and a lot of opinions definitely there. If you like this video, hit that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Do leave comments on what else we would like to see in this particular daily event. With that, this is me, Sathya, signing off. Wish you all the very best and have a good day.